All right, looks like we are ready to go. Good evening. Today is Tuesday, February 23rd. This is the Litchfield Elementary School District Governing Board, and this study session is officially called to order. All right, first on our agenda this evening is health insurance overview for medical, dental, and life. I believe, Monica, you're going to start us off, so I will hand it over to you.
Okay. So, Stevie, are you, I'll get started as soon as you can share screen in the PowerPoint.
I'll bring it up just.
Thank you very much. Okay, good evening, everyone. Madam President, members of the board, Superintendent Gunning. So tonight, I will be presenting along with Jerry Burns, our benefits coordinator, a health insurance overview. So I do want to kind of preface that we have prepared quite a bit of information. We kind of have some notes on what we want to make sure we highlight on. So, you know, sort of apologizing in advance if it kind of tends to get a little bit long. We just want to make sure that we are being inclusive with what we are presenting. And the purpose of presenting the information to our board this evening as a study session item is because each year we have to bring to you our benefits insurance package for approval. And so we thought it would be good tonight to present the information and just kind of take you through what the district provides its employees, an excellent benefit along with, in addition to obviously paying salaries. So I'm going to be reviewing medical information offered by our provider, Meritain Health, and kind of talk a little bit about ASBY. And then Jerry's going to be reviewing dental benefits, vision, and the life plan. Next slide. Okay, so our benefits align with our strategic plan in such a way that it impacts the people pillar. So obviously offering excellent benefits does play a role in helping us retain our staff, helps us promote health and wellness, and more specifically, we actually are planning our spring wellness campaign, which is set to start on March 15th. Our spring wellness campaign is a really exciting activity that we provide to our employees to engage in. The best part of it is getting a free, this time around is going to be getting a free lunch tote that's insulated. And just to kind of share, well, what is the spring wellness activity? So it can vary for each spring and fall time period. And this time around, we're going to be tracking our fruits and our veggie intake. So in terms of the strategic plan alignment, obviously a big component of offering benefits to our staff is the funding piece. And so that will be something that we will have to discuss in the coming weeks and kind of knowing and seeing what is that costing our district. And so I can tell you right now it's costing approximately $7.1 million to fund our benefits. Next slide. So I wanted to present this slide before we kind of dive into the medical benefits, dental benefits, and the others that we mentioned, because I really wanted you to kind of have a snapshot of, well, who are we talking about? Who's actually eligible for these benefits that we're going to be talking about? So here I wanted to illustrate what those numbers look like by certified staff, classified staff, and admin. Now you're going to see that there's notations about employees having to work a certain amount of hours. And so our employees are eligible for medical benefits if they work 30 hours or more. Now that is a federal mandate that that came to us under the Federal Affordable Care Act, which was enacted in March of 2010. So that is why we have to offer benefits to those employees who work 30 hours or more. And then this is not on there, but Just to give you an idea, as you're looking at the participating eligibility numbers, or just the eligibility numbers on this screen, we do have 87% employees participating in the medical, 90% participating in the dental, and then 96% that are enrolled in the life benefit. And we're going to talk a little bit in more detail about those three. Next slide. Okay, so ASBY is the Arizona School Boards Association Insurance Trust, which we have been a long-standing member of, founded by highly revered Barbara Roby, who had a vision to allow school employees to purchase quality health insurance at the lowest rates possible. So the upcoming slides will highlight some of the benefits we are accessing as a member of ASBY. Next slide, please. So when we think of ASBY, I really thought it was important to highlight, why are we with ASBY? So I can say that this screen here shows and illustrates our rate renewal history. So as you can tell, our 16-year average is 5.2% rate increases. So this is, obviously a big motivator for staying with ASBY. Now we have veered into the double digits, as you can tell, back in 2017, 2018. And it was that year that we decided we needed to make some changes and we needed to pass on some of that cost to our employees. So we're going to, again, talk about it in the coming slides, but one of the plans that we offer employees is a grandfathered copay gold plan. It's our best plan, because there's no deductible with that plan. But it was in 17-18 when we were going to experience a 10% increase that we really felt, and we had motivation to pass on that cost to employees. And notice that the year prior to 17-18, which is your 16-17 year, our rate increases were only 2%. So that was a pretty significant jump that really motivated us to look more closely at how we were offering benefits and the medical plan to our employees. Next slide, please. Okay, so here's where I get to talk about medical plan options. Obviously, a lot of information here. We do show our employees on our insurance webpage. We offer a comparison document that includes more benefits so they can actually see and compare, well, what am I paying for? What can I expect to pay for various benefits? So here I decided just to highlight just a few. As I mentioned earlier, we have that really rich, generous copay gold plan, just really popular for those that are grandfathered. So this plan is considered, a coveted plan because there is no deductible. So, really, what you're paying if, you're going to the doctor, you're paying a $24 copay. And so that's, as you can tell, the benefits for the copay gold are really excellent for our employees. The classic gold. So this one, we're going to get to talk about enrollment numbers in this plan. It does happen to be the one that we have the highest enrollment in. It's actually an excellent plan for employees to choose from. It's a zero cost currently to employees to choose from. And, when you're looking at deductibles, for example, on the classic gold, if you're employee only on the plan and you have no covered dependents, you just have to meet a $240 deductible before benefits are covered. So if you have, if you get into a situation that you maybe need hospitalization, if you have employee only, you can only expect to pay no more than $3,200. But if you have covered dependents, you and your family are going to be subject to a $6,400 max out of pocket. And so if you're wondering, well, what goes towards that out-of-pocket expense? Deductible amounts that are paid towards the deductible, co-pays, co-insurance meaning the portion that you're responsible for, which could be like 15% in the case of the classic gold plan, and then any RX costs. So those are the amounts that go towards that max out-of-pocket. And then the high deductible health plan is a little bit different. If you are an employee only on the plan, your deductible is $1,500. But if you and if you're an employee with, if your employee spouse, employee child, or employee family, you and your covered dependents are subject to $3,000. So, so enrollment is not really high with the high deductible health plan. Obviously, we think that some employees are a little bit nervous about that $3,000 deductible because in essence they are having to pay for those expenses until they meet their deductible. But now when we say employees have to pay for medical expenses, they are getting the Meritain Banner Aetna discount. So it's not like we're paying the cost at 100%. There are still negotiated costs and rates that we're benefiting from. So there is a little bit of a discount when we're having to pay anything out of pocket when we visit an in-network provider. And there's also out-of-network benefits too. And so, but just the cost can vary when it comes to that. Next, I want to cover on, actually, Stevie, if you can go back, I'm still on this slide. So as you can tell there, preventative benefits, obviously our vaccines, our flu shots, our COVID shots that we received are free. Well woman exams, all of that's covered 100%. Some of that that I just mentioned is associated with the Affordable Care Act, whereas the insurance providers had to make it 100% covered. And then, of course, we participate in Teledoc, which is a convenient benefit that our employees can access only to our employees who are on a covered medical plan. And it's open 24 hours, 7 days a week. And notice if somebody's on the copay gold plan, they're not going to pay a copay. It's covered at 100% if they have to reach a doctor. If you're on the high deductible health plan, you do have to pay $40 when you make that call, that virtual call with a doctor. So I've had that personal experience. My spouse needed to talk to a doctor, and so yeah, you have to pull out your payment and make that payment prior to receiving that service. All right, next slide, please. Thank you. All right, so I felt it was really important to highlight some of the other medical plan highlights that we receive through ASBY, that we receive as a member, as part of accessing benefits through Meritain. So our employee assistance program is actually accessible by all employees. You don't just have to be on the medical or dental plan to access our employee assistance program. Our employee assistance program is a confidential service to help our employees with emotional, psychological, or family needs. There's really, it's counseling. And so, as we all know, that we not only is important for us to take care of our physical health, but our mental health too. And so we're happy to report that we do have a pretty good utilization rate with our EAP. Our principals, our supervisors continuously offer this information to our employees as they need it. And so many of them have little business cards with EAP information to be able to hand to employees anytime they need that. So I learned that the average utilization with the ASBY group is 6%. So we're actually running at 10%. So we're using the benefit to help ourselves. So another benefit is the on-site mammograms that we offer. This is a really, really popular service that we offer to our employees. That's so convenient. We actually had to add another site location at the last minute, just due to the demand of wanting these screenings. And as we all know, early detection does save lives. And we're also gearing up to do our biometric screenings or our health evaluations. When we do those, we have our blood drawn, and there's a panel of screenings that are examined for us. And then the nice thing is we get a personalized report emailed to us to really tell us, how are we doing? Is our cholesterol high? Do we need to exercise some more? And really just sharing with us what those different levels are looking like. And are we kind of going into the area of being high risk? And so happy to announce that we offer a $20 stipend for each employee who participates. And as you can tell, it's getting really popular with our employees. And right now we have about 192 appointments that are made. And another benefit too is the nurse health coaching. I was talking to an employee earlier about kind of their experience with nurse health coaching. It's basically a personalized service. So for example, this employee said, hey, you know what, I was identified as having high cholesterol, and it was so neat for that nurse to call me and say, hey, so how are you doing? Are you, have you made this appointment? And so what are some of your struggles? And what are some of your goals? Can we set some goals? So really, it's really a personalized service that our employees are receiving once they know that they may be kind of at risk, based on their health screening evaluation or anything maybe a doctor may have diagnosed for that employee. All right, next slide, please. Okay, so here we have medical plan cost information and enrollment. So what I wanted to highlight here is that, so as you can tell, for the copay gold, we are, our employees do have to pay a portion of that cost. It's $708 a year, or comes out to $33 per paycheck. And as I mentioned early on, we did start asking employees to buy up into this plan just to kind of help control that utilization, that cost, because it was so easy just to make that decision to go see that doctor without thinking about what that was really costing, the district and the plan overall. So right now, enrollment is at 150 employees who are enrolled in employee only. And this is down from 182 employees who had this coverage last school year. So we are starting to see a shift from the copay gold onto the other plans. So that was pretty drastic there. So we're at 150 now, and it was 182 last year. For the classic gold, it's our heavily used plan right now, or not used, but popular with our employees. We have 524 employees enrolled in that plan, and it's just up from 519, not that significant. And our high deductible actually had a pretty good jump. Last year, we had 48 employees in the high deductible health plan, and now we're at 102. So, again, we do have some plans to, offer some more education to our employees. And, we want to go ahead and give the virtual a try, because when we've approved our insurance plans each year, we typically, have had Maritane and Jerry and sometimes myself, we would go to the sites and we would offer, that information in just like an informational session for employees. But we're starting to see, kind of like a lack of interest in that. We're just not really seeing great participation in having employees come to those meetings. I mean, it could be because of convenience. Typically it is after school. And so we know families have, other priorities, maybe need to run the kids to, athletic games or whatever, and then just have other things going on. Maybe it's just work in general. So we're really trying to think of a better way that we can, have that captured audience, or just really offer that opportunity to provide that information and that education. So there is some plans in the coming weeks to offer that to them. So that way we're able to get that information out to our employees. All right, so Jerry is next, and she's going to cover with you dental, vision, and life benefit information.
Hi, good evening, Madam President, board members, Mrs. Gunning. I'm just going to go over a little bit about the other three plans. We've offered Delta Dental for the last few years. It's a typical dental plan, $1,500 max, 2 free cleanings every year. It's your pretty basic dental plan. Delta Dental is it's a very big company. So you got a lot of dentists that are in the plan, on the plan. So there's plenty of in-network facilities in our area, especially. So I've never heard anything bad about coming back from the employees about this plan. So it's been doing well. We have a lot of participation. Vision is not an employer-sponsored plan. The employee pays for that, but it's your typical plan as well. $10 exam for copay, for the copay for the exam itself. Every 2 years, you get $130 frame allowance, so you can buy new frames. And then you get some little discounts on the extra stuff like laser vision and stuff like that. So, so that's managed through, Delta Dental and the vision is through Valley Schools. We use that through them. So they went over to United Healthcare last year. So that's been a little bit of a change for our district, but it's going well. The life insurance is a paid benefit from the district. All full-time employees receive a $15,000 life insurance policy. That is through Meritain, ASBY. It's through Horace Mann handles that policy. Excuse me, that also includes accidental death and dismemberment as well. And then an employee can upgrade for spouse and child coverage at a very low cost. $8,000 policy for a spouse, $5,000 policy for a child. So, and it's the same premium, either or both. And it's very, very manageable. So you can go to the next slide, Stevie. So this is what the people we have enrolled in these different plans. Dental, 530 employee onlys. That's pretty typical of what we've had over the years. The child coverage did go up a little bit. That's the only one that's kind of been bumped up. Employee and family is pretty typical. So the district does pay 100% of that cost for the employee. And the monthly premiums are pretty manageable for dental. I think that's why a lot of people, insure their families and children and spouse on that. So it's a pretty good benefit money-wise. And then the vision is very well received as well. The employee pays 100% of that. So you have a lot of participation with that as well. So, and then the life insurance, like I said, it's all the full-time employees plus the bus drivers. So even if they don't take the medical or the dental or the vision, they still automatically get the life insurance. So that's why those numbers are so high. If they don't enroll at all, then they give up this benefit. But so we really, really encourage, even if they're not going to take the medical, that they, go through the enrollment process to get the life insurance. So that's what you see with the employee and spouse and the child coverage with that. So that's all covered directly through Meritain. Any, claims go directly through them. I don't have to deal directly with the life insurance company. So it's all managed very well. So I guess that's about it for those three plans. So.
Thank you, Jerry. Okay, so with everything said, what is the financial impact to the district and what does this look like for this year? So this is information that we actually provided last year when we present the cost information, but just wanting to show you here, based on the district currently funding $7,100 towards the cost towards medical, and as you can tell, the number of employees currently participating in those plans, as well as Teladoc, talked a bit about how convenient Teladoc has been for our employees. And so then you also see that there's a dental cost that the district is currently covering for employee only coverage. And then the life costs that Jerry just talked about. So here You can see the estimated $7,193,305. Okay, next slide. All right, and then lastly, so what we have coming up is on March 16th, Monica Zook of Meritain Health will do her annual presentation of a little more in-depth information about kind of, how did things play out for the year, and where are we looking, how are things looking in terms of our loss ratio and our claims experience. And then so we'll be asking the board to approve medical, dental, and vision life benefit offerings effective July 1st. And then the reason we have to, bring it to you in March, usually the March timeframe, is because then we have to begin open enrollment. So when we have open enrollment for our employees, we like to schedule that sometime in April. It definitely has to be done before they leave, before our employees leave for the summer. And that is an automated enrollment that we conduct, and our employees, when they're going through each of the screens for medical, for dental, they actually get to see what they selected, and so they have the ability to make changes to anything that they've already selected. So, and then when they're in those selections, they can see the cost information. It really is a really easy, convenient process, and I think we've had excellent feedback from our employees about just how easy that benefit is. And some of our supervisors will assist their employees who need that technical assistance, because it is something that does have to be conducted online. So again, just a really easy process when we conduct open enrollment for our employees. All right, so at this time, happy to answer any questions and review any slides. If you have, would like to do that.
Thank you, Monica. I just have a question for you. I know that we have seen kind of this information over the years, and I don't know if it needs to be updated or it's, kind of the same as we have seen before, but I know our district has been really proud of the fact that we pay for almost 100% of benefits. I mean, I know there's a few pieces here and there that we may ask for some additional assistance for our employees, but I know we've tried really hard not to change that, even if we've had to change or tweak the plans a little bit. I'm assuming that is going to be the recommendation moving forward from the district, but what is the comparison to what we pay now? First question is, when do we know what our increase will potentially be? Will we know that by our March meeting, or is that what she's going to come and tell us? And then secondly, how does this compare with other districts around us, and what their overall costs are? I know it's different because they don't pay for as much as we do. I do understand that, but I mean, are we still kind of, is this benefit still as highly sought after as we've always thought it has been? Because it's part of our employees' overall compensation. We've really always tried to protect that. So I'm assuming that would be your recommendation moving forward.
Yeah, in terms of your first question, when do we expect to get the increased information? We're actually expecting to get that on or before March 1st. So I'm not sure if it's coming this week or on Monday. In terms of and so once we know that, was our plan to bring that information to the March 16th meeting. So with there being a special meeting on March 2nd, we may not have it in time for that. I think it just depends when we get that, the actual rate information. In terms of other districts, Jerry, I know that Jerry kind of looked, she kind of poked around to see kind of what other districts were doing right now. So Jerry, do you want to talk a little bit about what you kind of saw with surrounding districts and what they're doing?
Yeah, I did look at some other districts that were around us. I looked at 3 of them. They all offered the high deductible health plan as their base plan, and you had to buy up to the other plans. The deductibles on their other plans, even the buy-up ones, are a lot higher than what we offer. So the plans we offer are very rich compared to these other districts. But they all had the one free plan and then buying up to the other 2.
I know. Okay. Thank you, Jerry.
Thank you very much. I would have figured the same, but I just wanted to make sure that we were still at least just tracking that, competition to make sure that we're still kind of in line with what everyone is doing. And I am glad to see that our plans are still a little bit better than those that are out there. Jeremy, go ahead. Do you have a question?
Yes. Do we get better? It sounds like we're doing better in terms of our rates and what we provide. Is that because of scale, because we are a larger district than some of these other ones, or why is that? Or because we've done it longer? Why is that reason?
So, being a member of ASBY, we are pooling with other member districts. So that could be why we're seeing those realized, affordable or, not as high rate increases. Controlled rate increases, right? Which with an average of 5.6%.
Yeah, these were not ASBY districts, but they were comparable sized districts to ours.
Okay, so they're just not as smart as we are, I guess, right?
Right.
The other piece of that could be, Jeremy, we're not answering the puzzle here because we're also not saying what the district is funding. We're very generous in our funding of these plans. So those other districts may have decided they're not going to fund as generously as we do.
Okay. Yeah, I thought we were just talking about the overall cost though, but okay, I'll listen.
Anyone else have any questions? Melissa, Kim, any additional comments?
I have a couple of questions. Can you just verify for me, Monica, that based on what I think I read in the slides, that we are contributing $1,458 to the HSA accounts for folks that opt for that high deductible plan?
Yes. So in the study session documents, I did include the premium cost. So the reason why the district contributes that amount right now is because the district has determined that we are contributing a total amount of $7,140 towards each employee's cost of benefits. So when the high deductible health plan is actually, the premium cost is much lesser than that. It's much smaller than that. So really we're just receiving the difference to receive the full sum of $7,140. So as a district, when we decide what is that dollar amount, that's something that we have to think about is, are we having employees, cost share maybe into the other plan, which would mean, establishing that baseline amount to contribute towards the total cost of medical, and as well as the total cost of dental, because we do separate that out based on what we're offering employees.
Yeah, I agree. Based on what Jerry was saying, some of the other districts do, that would be one way to look at it if we want to, if we don't have the budget to be able to fund at the place that we've funded in the past, making that high deductible plan premium kind of our baseline and making sure that we are evenly funding each employee at that dollar amount, and then pushing some of that cost onto them would be one way to potentially do that. Right. In addition, with dental and even with dental, it wouldn't have to be all or nothing. We could do like a 50-50 split or some sort of, meet in the middle to kind of maybe gradually get that over to being more of an employee expense. One question on the dental, on the financial impact, the estimate slide, and I understand that this was, or from what I thought, this was the estimate that you did last year, really based on what we thought we were going to spend this year. So on here, it says 825 employees on slide 13, but then on the actual dental slide, which is slide 12, it says we have 530 employees in the dental plan.
So you have to include the other numbers that are in the other tiers. So if I pull the dental slide, that 530 are employees who selected employee only coverage, but then you have the other tiers that you have to account for because those employees selected those tiers.
Gotcha. Okay. Danielle asked my other question, which is what's our competition doing basically? So that is all my questions.
Yeah, and we'll make sure that we include that information. I'll see what I can gather from those surrounding districts. Not sure what, I think everybody is in the same situation, exploring what they're doing for next year, but I might be able to present what they offered this year. So I'll kind of do my best with pulling that information so we can at least do some, at a glance comparisons.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you. Anyone else? Jeremy, Melissa, any other comments or questions for at least the insurance piece?
My only question was about the other districts. So yeah, that's really kind of what I would want to know. And then just so I know, we put in money for the health savings account. Do we allow our staff members to put money in, and how much do we allow them to do into like the health savings account?
Oh yeah, absolutely. We can, we can choose to put additional monies into that bank account, and there are some maximum contributions when you take into consideration what the employer is contributing as well as the employee. So off the top of my head, I don't have that max contribution. Jerry, would you happen to recall what that contribution is?
I want to say about $3,800 for a single, and then
Okay.
6,000 something for family.
For family, yeah.
The government sets that max.
And I
That's an IRS set dollar amount, and in 2020, the family amount, if you have family coverage, is $7,100.
Okay,
FYI.
that's close.
Jeremy, go ahead.
Are all these the slides, are they on, or were they emailed to us or not?
They are on board docs.
Okay,
Yeah, on the agenda on item number.
Okay.
Item number 1. Yeah, you should see them. You can download that PowerPoint to review all those numbers.
okay, perfect.
Yeah, item number 2, I apologize. I think it's called the Insurance Benefits Overview.
Right,
That's the name of it.
thank you.
Okay, no more questions. So Monica, just reiterate for us very quickly the timeline moving forward. So by March 1st, the district will learn what our increase potentially could be. And then we will revisit this March 16th, and you'll be looking for what at the next meeting?
So what will I be looking for?
Well, you're going to ask us what to approve your recommendation.
Approval, right? Looking for
Right.
approval based on the rating, based on the rate information that we anticipate to receive.
Perfect. Okay, wonderful. Thank you, Monica, Jerry. We appreciate all the work and putting all of this stuff together. I know that you guys are probably living and breathing benefits this time of year. So thank you for taking time to come and educate us a little bit on this. Fantastic.
Thank you.
Next, if you are following along on our agenda, we are on item number 3, contract language for employment contracts and work agreements, excuse me. And that looks like Monica and or Jody, I think.
Madam President, members of the governing board, since we had some questions and recommendations that were turned in yesterday, we are going to move this item to next Tuesday so that we can have legal counsel present to kind of talk us through and to look through, answer all those questions, go through the recommendations, and that'll be done in an executive session.
Okay, perfect. Is there any part of this that we're going to go through tonight, or we can do it all with legal counsel next week?
We can do it all with legal counsel next week.
Okay, perfect. Okay, and all of that information, just for everyone, is still on board docs. So if you do have any further questions, I'm assuming Jody, continue to send them to you, and then we will review that with Jennifer McClellan next week. I believe our meeting is March 2nd, correct?
Yes.
Next Tuesday, I think. Okay.
Okay, I'm sorry, is there anything else you can tell us about this, Superintendent Gunning? I was not aware that this was being pushed back.
We just had some suggestions and some questions, and when I sent them over to Jennifer, she wanted to meet with you all to kind of talk through them. So once we get everybody's information in, we'll send that out to all board members too, so that you guys have that.
Okay, thanks.
And when is that meeting, the executive session?
It'll be March 2nd. And that one we're shooting to do that in person. There's our goal.
Okay.
We'll get you more information of exactly where we'll be and so that we can physically space and all of that.
Okay. Yeah, Jeremy, a week from tonight, Tuesday, March 2nd at 5:30.
Okay.
That is a special meeting, so there will be additional things on the agenda. I mean, that meeting has already been scheduled, so we will just, sounds like we'll just schedule an executive session amidst the other agenda items on that meeting. Okay, then we will move on to item number 4 on our agenda, and that is our guest teacher overview. Wendy Qualls will be leading us through that. Hi, Wendy.
Good evening, Madam President, members of the Governing Board, and Superintendent Gunning. Stevie, if you'd please pull up the presentation. So this presentation provides information on guest teacher recruitment. Next slide, please. I'm Wendy Qualls, the Executive Director of Finance. Next slide. Guest teacher recruitment aligns with our people pillar. Next slide, please. I attended a national webinar on substitute recruitment. Nationally, there is a shortage of substitutes. The research shows that districts historically have contacted each other to see what their daily rate was and set daily rates just based on the competition with other districts. What they found is that this method worked until just a few years ago. However, now there's more opportunities available for folks to go out and make supplemental wages. So now there's Uber, Instacart, Etsy, Grubhub, all types of ways that employees can, or folks can substitute or supplement their wages. They found nationally that the pay rate was $15 for these types of gig jobs. Next slide, please. They recommended that districts go back and look at their guest teacher or substitute rate compared to the federal minimum wage. So I created this spreadsheet for us, and at the very bottom, if we start with 2005, 2006, our guest teacher daily rate was $90. Our instructional assistant placement chart amount was $8.75. The federal and state minimum wage was $5.15. So I wanted to compare that to an instructional assistant for 8 hours would have been $70. So compared to our guest teacher rate, it's $20 in addition. So as we move up the chart in years, in 2017-18, we increased our guest teacher daily rate to $100. This was in line with the increases that were going on with the state minimum wage requirement. So as we came into 2021, our guest teacher rate was $100. Our instructional assistant was $12.15. And then the wage rates were $7.25 for federal and $12.15 for Arizona. So if we look at our instructional assistant daily rate for 8 hours, it's $97.20. So our guest rate was in line with our instructional assistants. Previously, Mrs. Sanders brought to you a recommendation to increase the rate to $120 temporarily due to COVID for the rest of this year, which is approximately $20 more than our instructional assistants. Next slide, please. So we're going to monitor our guest teachers, the number that we are able to recruit and retain over the next few months, and also monitor the fill rates through the end of the current year. At the end of the year, or towards maybe the beginning of July, we'll bring to you a recommendation regarding the pay for our substitutes and guest teachers. Do we have any questions?
Yes, Wendy, thank you very much. I have just 2 questions. Stevie, if you wouldn't mind going back to, I think maybe just 2 slides back with the chart where she had the different pay allocations based on Arizona federal or whatever. I'm not sure what slide number that was, but can you go back to that, please?
Yeah, bring it.
Yeah, no problem. Go ahead. Take your time. I'll tell, before I ask that question, I will go to another one. Wendy, and maybe Jody, this is more appropriate for you in terms of staffing and how they see this. So I mean, in my opinion, I think we did this under sort of the guise of this year, knowing that we really needed to increase this to make sure we had enough substitutes. Our fill rate was very low, and we knew we were going to have more teachers out this year. Moving forward, I hope we'll be able to balance that out a little more. On the one hand, I do think that the $120 from what we've seen in terms of competition with other districts is more in line with what other districts are providing. So I'm on board for staying at the top of that game. However, I'm worried because will our school budgets align with this increase in the sense of, will teachers and principals have the available funds, right? I mean, in their budget to actually get the substitutes or the guest teachers they need, or are we fearful they're now not going to get a sub because they have to pay them more, and so more classrooms get split or admins wind up covering or whatever because they don't have, we're not able to adjust that budget to meet the new pay raise.
Wendy, did you want me to chime in? I can chime in. We will adjust the budgets accordingly based on, so that way we have coverage and we'll be able to compensate. So we wouldn't want someone to because you don't want maybe one campus being able to, afford it and another campus not. So we would do it from a district level perspective. We also just wanted to be really proactive as we're going into all of the budget discussions of something that we thought could be in the future to really look at. So we wanted to kind of, have that in your thought process as we begin budget conversations, that this may be something that we may need to consider when we approach the June and July timeframe.
Okay, thank you. Second question is, here it says the instructional assistant daily rate for 8 hours. Do all of our instructional assistants work for 8 hours? I may be wrong, but I thought that most of those classified staff actually weren't full-time employees, so they didn't work a full 8 hours. So if they don't, then there's probably even more of a pay gap there. Is that accurate?
Clymer, most of our instructional assistants do not work 8 hours a day. I just put that in there as a comparison. Now,
Sure, to a full day's pay.
I noticed that my federal and Arizona minimum wage, that should be an hourly rate, not a daily rate.
Oh, sure. Yes, I understood. I understood what you meant. Okay. For that. Okay. So they're not actually making, I mean, they would be if they were working 8 hours. So it's comparable to a full day, but they're probably not actually making that much because the majority of them probably don't work that much. There maybe is a little bit more of a gap there than we think. Okay. Thank you. Jeremy.
Hi, Wendy. Just to give me an overview, what is the percentage of, let's say, all the days that teachers work versus the number of days that guest teachers work? Like, is it 1% or 5% or something like that? Is that question clear?
I think I want to clarify that. So a teacher's contract is for 208 days, which includes some holidays. So they are actually scheduled, I believe it's closer to 185 days to work, where a substitute would work 180 days if they chose to select an assignment every day. So a guest teacher has the opportunity to accept a position or not. So if they want to work 1 day a week, they could do that. If they want to work 2 days a month, it's completely flexible on the number of days that they sign up to cover a classroom.
Well, I'm thinking though, just in terms of the total budget, in other words, of the dollar amount we pay for teachers, total amount, what percentage is substitute? I'm just trying to get a feel for how often substitutes are needed.
So I don't know, Superintendent Gunning, if you have a better estimate, but I know in the past when we were open, we'd have around 50 subs per day, which is about 10% of our classroom teachers.
That answers my question. And then did that change when we started doing the remote learning, or you know, with COVID, when that physical schools were mostly closed? Did that percentage of 10% change or go up or down, and or do we know, or you know?
I would say it went down. We used less subs during the distance learning time than we did in a typical day. And when you look at the 50 subs on average, that could include also professional development of where we're, you know, someone is attending a conference or training as well.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Anyone else?
We
have any
actually,
questions?
oh, sorry, I was
I'm
just
sorry.
going to say, President Clymer, we also have outstanding attendance rates with our teachers. They've done an amazing job and with their attendance, and the substitutes also fill in for long-term subbing. So if there's a medical reason or childbirth or any of those things too.
Good. So I get it. So it's not like teachers are out 10% of the time because they're going to conferences or long-term things, stuff like that. So,
Right.
but I get a good overall picture. Thank you.
Mhm.
Kim or Melissa, the floor is open if you guys have any questions or comments.
I just want to say that that makes a lot of sense, Wendy, as far as the gig economy and the side hustle kind of goes, that folks would be able to have just as many kind of spontaneous, flexible work options where they would make more per hour than what we're paying them. So it makes sense that we probably should be paying our guest teachers more. So we'll continue to talk about that as the budget information is presented. So thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? Any other questions? Okay. Wendy, in terms of next steps on this, thank you for the overview and the information, and we'll continue to kind of study that and ask questions. So what is the timeline in terms of this with our overall budget, in terms of approving this, if there is a new guest teacher rate recommended?
So that would be a consideration as we look at the next couple meetings at the budget. We would know that that would be a possible increase. And then we'll continue to monitor the rates though and see if that's really a necessary increase at this time, or with the impact on the budget if we need to wait another year.
Okay. And remind me, I know we approved a temporary increase and then we came back a second time and increased it. And so it goes throughout the rest of this school year until the end of May. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So any decision we make now, we're just making for the 21-22 school year. We're covered this year. Okay. I just wanted to make sure of that. Okay. Any other questions about budget or timeline or anything like that? So it sounds like we'll learn more about that over the next couple of meetings as we review the budget. Jeremy, did you have something you wanted to say? Oh, okay. I'm sorry. You just nodded your head. I thought maybe.
Yeah, no, I just was reacting, and good. No, I have no questions. It's, I need to go look at the some of the charts online.
Okay.
Thank you. Good.
Yep, no problem. Okay, thank you very much, guys. I appreciate all the information tonight. So this was a short meeting tonight. So we moved one of our items to next week. So we'll review that. And that is all we have. So I will wrap it up if there's not any other questions on these items, and we will see everyone again next Tuesday at 5:30. Stay tuned for instructions. Like I said, or excuse me, like Jody said, we're hoping it can be in person. So we will meet in a socially distanced way to do that agenda and executive session. So I will entertain a motion for adjournment.
I motion to adjourn.
I will second.
All right, thank you both. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.